In 1980, Audi launched a trial balloon with the Audi Quattro, the first production passenger car with all-wheel drive. Before that, all-wheel drive had been used rarely, mostly in racing cars. Ford had produced all-wheel drive Capris for rallycross in the late 60s, as well as a police version of the Zodiac, and experimented with the Mustang. Soon, many car manufacturers, including Ford, saw and decided to occupy the niche in the market of all-wheel drive passenger cars. The management of Ford of Europe commissioned the Department of Designing Special Vehicles, SVE = Special Vehicle Engineering, to develop an all-wheel drive modification of the Sierra. Initially, it was to be based on the 2.3-gear model, but soon the choice was made in favor of the more powerful 2.8 engine from the XR4i. The XR4x4 was intended to be sold alongside the XR4i, not replace it. However, this was not to be. The XR4i was discontinued, and the XR4x4 was born. At the same time, Ford was also developing ABS for the Sierra, but it did not appear on production cars until 1986. The Sierra's all-wheel drive was based on the Ferguson FF system, which sent 34% of torque to the front axle and 66% to the rear. SVE also decided that the suspension, compared to the XR4i, needed to be changed to achieve good ride quality and significantly better handling. This was done by lowering the ride height, stiffer springs, increasing the diameter of the rear stabilizer, and changing the shock absorbers. In addition, all XR4x4s were equipped with a limited-slip rear differential, disc brakes on all wheels, alloy wheels, 5.5 by 14-inch with 195/60 R14 tires, power steering, fog lights, electric front windows, central locking and heated electric mirrors. To reduce costs, they did away with adjustable lumbar support for the seats and other options, plastic trim and a double rear spoiler. A sunroof was also optional at first. ABS and air conditioning were also on the options list. Standard colors were diamond white and Rosso red, with black and Nimbus gray metallic available as options. Externally, the XR4x4 differed from the standard Sierra by wide black moldings on the sides and bumpers, a small body-colored rear spoiler, and 4x4 emblems on the boot lid and front wings. The main competitors of the Sierra XR4x4 were the Audi 80 and 90 Quattro. Although the XR4x4 was originally designed as a 3-door, only 5-door cars were sold. Only a few hundred 3-door cars were built, all left-hand drive. In April 1986, production of the 4-wheel drive 2.8i Gear 4x4 estate began. Chassis-wise, they were identical to the XR4x4, apart from the rear suspension, which lacked an anti-roll bar but did feature self-leveling rear suspension as standard. The recipe was simple: a large engine in a compact body. This is how the Americans have been doing it for a long time. This is how the British built sports cars. This is how German cars were built. This is how the most expensive Ford car called Sierra appeared. A 2.8 engine with 150 horsepower, the price is the same as the most expensive Troika B. And the latest jellyfish-shaped body with a transparent hint of aerodynamics. A stack of anti-wings on the third door of this fast car. The factory specifications promised the European buyer 8.4 seconds to 100, British motorists received an even more beautiful value of 7.8 seconds to 60 miles per hour, but advertising insisted on the maximum speed. The new product was to enter the club of those who can accelerate to 200. In the early 1980s this was still a significant limit, and Ford promised that the car would be able to accelerate to 2. The automotive press introduced readers to the new product in April 1983, and it looked very bright, especially against the backdrop of new products from Mercedes and BMW. The compact 190th Mercedes looked radically new only for old fans of the brands, remaining in essence the keeper of the previous values of the 3-point star, and BMW in the E30 body was criticized from birth for its conservative design. The Ford Sierra was a different car altogether, especially in this big-engine, body-kitted version. A concentrate of early fashion trends and a teenager's dream, as German journalists discreetly noted. But for those who found the 210 mark lines too superficial a stimulus for high school students, Ford had much more to say about the joy of driving. The Germans were skeptical about the new product, two-tone, with a red stripe along the bumpers, stripes on the rear side windows, 2 spoilers. All this was somehow far from common sense. At least in Germany, where the cars were very fast, but indistinguishable from modest ones, in high esteem. Here it should be noted right away that the car culture in the two largest markets of Western Europe, in Germany and in Great Britain, in those years was still very different. Ford attracted car enthusiasts not only with the maximum speed value, but also set a very decent drag coefficient for the powerful Sierra. German journalists will check all these figures a little later, and in reality they will all turn out to be much worse than the factory plates. The drag coefficient of the XR4i, of course, is a couple of hundredths better than that of the base Sierra. However, two spoilers at the rear were not so much supposed to reduce air resistance as to improve the downforce of the unloaded rear axle. Inside, the edgier character was hinted at by red trim on the instruments and gear knob, a smaller diameter, two-spoke steering wheel, and pronounced side bolsters for the front seats. Otherwise, the XR4i's options list was consistent with the regular cars. The main thing in this car was of course the engine, familiar from Granite. And Capris car's V-shaped 6 with a volume of 2.8 with Bosch Cagetronic injection produced 150 at 5,700 rpm, and this power was very modest, given the volume D, by the standards of the early 80s. And also the torque, only 216 Nm. At 3,800 rpm, such values competitors got with a smaller working volume. And the manufacturer, remaining at the forefront of technical fashion of those years, was already preparing a four-wheel drive for the fast Sierra, without making a special secret of it. And it priced its new car quite expensively. The price was at the level of BMW and Mercedes, and the only advantage was richer equipment in the base, such as electrically adjustable and heated mirrors, alloy wheels, or a 5-speed gearbox. It should be noted here that the debut of the Sierra caused a short-term surge of interest in this unusual car. And the immodest price for the top version to some extent reflected Ford's confidence in the prospects. German journalists will immediately put the BMW 323i and Audi Quattro next to the XR4i, and in the Ford Sierra XR4i against the BMW 323i and Audi Quattro, the most powerful of the three was the Ford, because the 323rd BMW developed only 129 horsepower, the Audi, 136, so 150 against this background was a noticeable advantage. And an even lower price with comparable equipment, the base Ford cost 29,216 German marks, for the BMW 323i they asked 30,518, and for the all-wheel drive and the aura of rally victories from Audi you had to pay 34,073, while the BMW and Audi were noticeably more modestly equipped in the base.